Hello, Munson here with the Portugal Business Club here every Tuesday at 9 o'clock Portugal time, where we have the Cockerel's Coop. That's one thing where people introduce their businesses. If you've got a business in Portugal that you would like to run past us, or even an idea, then do that, and we'll run that out about 9:30, around the half-hour mark of the show. So if you've got a nice business idea, it doesn't have to be fully formed, and of course, you may not want to give away your IP at this stage, but if you'd just like to run something past our guests and our community, you're very welcome to do so. Drop me a line, carl@goodmorningportugal.com, or just shout out in the chat. It'll be great to hear from you. And now every Tuesday evening, we look at business in a kind of broad way. So it's not just for those hard-nosed business people. Social business, social impact, how to manage your taxes, lots of aspects of Portuguese life that even non-business people might be interested in. So my first guest this evening will join us now. She's a regular, of course, on the Good Morning Portugal show. And she is Raquel from Lighthouse Consulting. Let's give her oh, that's not the round of applause. That's in case anybody swears tonight. Let's do the right thing. Give her a proper round of applause. Now, come on, applause. Where are you? There they are. Hey! Oh, look. Snap. Nice mug. Where'd you get that from? Excellent. Wow.
Just wanted to,
Thank you.
I got one.
You have got the limited edition. We just tried a few at cost price, and there it is. It's soon to be a collector's item and available. See, Raquel's a businesswoman, and that will probably be on eBay in a couple of weeks' time. And there'll be a massive markup on the original purchase price. Don't blame me.
I have time. Let it rise in value. I have time.
Okay, so more than a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of decades or something like that, along with your Portuguese wine cellar. Because I was talking to somebody who invests in wine, and they say there's a really good return on investing in wine. Is that something from your knowledge of Portuguese wine? Is that something that goes on other Portuguese wine traders?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh really?
For sure. You just I would have a serious problem not to consume my own collection. So I can't do that.
Same here.
But it's a serious business.
Wow. Okay. And for anyone who doesn't know about Portuguese wine, come over, try it. You're not going to see much of it outside the country. The best way to research it and to taste it, of course, is to be here in Portugal. Very patriotic and very, very keen on wine, are Portuguese people, but it tends to stay inside the country. Go to a Portuguese supermarket, all you see is Portuguese wine. It's not like my old off-license or supermarket. You've been to see the King of England recently, haven't you, Raquel? Did you notice in a supermarket?
I did. I went to London for like 4 days with family and a couple of friends, and it was great. I hadn't gone there, just for business, but I hadn't gone like in 20-something years. It was great the weather was great. It was cold, but it didn't rain. And it was fine. It was fine. It's just like 4 days to get out of here and in my messed up kitchen and try to think about something else.
I'm so glad you had a lovely time in the land of my birth.
I did.
It changes as good as the rest. How is that kitchen coming on?
It's not. It just come off actually. So now it's like off. All I have is my washing machine. Yeah. And by tomorrow I won't have anything. So like tonight I was cooking my heart out to just have like some meals frozen or whatever, and just try to survive for the next week and a half without kitchen, because then IKEA will come here and put together my kitchen. So amazing. For the next week and a half, I'll be having work done here in my kitchen.
Incredible. Kids, you can ask mum for fast food for the next coming week. I suspect that's how it might roll. Okay, well, good luck with the kitchen. Thank you for being here tonight. You're here to talk about this new mastermind for current and prospective business owners in Portugal. But before we go there, could you give us a little bit of an introduction to who you are and what you do for anyone who hasn't met you so far?
Yes, so I am Portuguese. I have a legal background, so I have a legal law degree. And I've been a legal consultant all my life, and I have a 20+ year career in the finance and banking industry. So that's where I started out at the CMVM, which is like the SEC Portuguese. Yes, like the stock exchange police. That's where I started. And then went into the banking career. So always as a legal consultant. And then after my third daughter, Alice, was born last year, I decided I had enough with that life, with that corporate life. Um, I just wanted to look for something else. And so since one of my daughters goes to an international school, I have a lot of expat friends.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, with your experience and the way you speak English, that you don't have any hard time speaking English. You have everything to, help people with their businesses or with lots of other things. And I was like, at first I was a little hesitant. I didn't know if I never had a business of my own. I've always worked for someone else. And I was a little bit hesitant, but the fact is I did create Lighthouse Consulting. It is going very well. I mean, I'm learning every day. It's, but in the end, it's a dream come true. I didn't even realize, but apparently all the pieces in the universe just came together for me to be at the best stage of my life. I'm tired as hell, as you can see, but it is one of the best times of my life, professionally and personally speaking. So it's been going really great. Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. So it was the right jump then for you.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
And your tiredness is your own, which is different in the corporate world, isn't it? When you're working 100 hours a week for a corporation, you know that it's a deal, isn't it? It's a trade-off. But all your tiredness is now, I guess, could be seen as an investment in this business that you run.
Exactly. And it's working for yourself. It's building something for yourself. It's building something in your own image. It's controlling everything and creating something from the ground. Whereas, and in the corporate finance world, it's cutthroat world. You work a lot of hours. It's very, very demanding. So it's not that I'm working more now. I'm spreading my hours in the day much better between family time, personal time, and professional time. I can work in my own terms. So I always worked really well at home. And that was not a possibility in the corporate world. It's very hard to work from home and be away from everyone and not be seen, not talk to people and so forth. And now I'm still with Alice, like almost full time. So she just turned a year. So now I have like 3 jobs because I'm a full-time mom for Alice. I have my company, Lighthouse Consulting, and the other construction company, which I do a lot of work to as well, like marketing and invoicing and all of that. So this tiredness is because I'm having 3 full-time jobs now instead of only 1.
Wow. Well, all power to you. It sounds amazing, and it is lovely to know that you're investing into your own business and future, and working around a family like that sounds very Portuguese as well. I mean, I think that's quite a traditional thing here, isn't it, to have family life revolving around a family business?
Yes, it's very much traditional, especially for the 60s to 70-year-old generation.
Yes.
And for certain businesses like restaurants and pastry shops and stuff like that, bakeries, it's like all the family works there. Yeah. And then of course the other business, it's not as simple as that to have all the family there, but it's very usual here to have a business revolving around the family. And in the wine business, that's for sure a rule,
Well, you made a very interesting point last time I think we spoke about how the business isn't built to sell, and because that's the kind of modern way now, isn't it? Is the startup is being crafted, and the investors, the venture capitalists are looking at it from that point of view of like, how quickly can we get this up on its feet and making money and get a return on our investment? That's not the Portuguese way traditionally, is it? The business is created to serve the family.
Yes, and to live off of it, but not in a way where, well, of course you want to make money, you want to live off of it, but you still, like very Portuguese style, you want to pay as low as tax as possible. So the only way to do that is to not have a great profit, because then you won't pay taxes on a profit that's not there. So The Portuguese way traditionally is to live off of the company, like all of your world revolves around the company. Sometimes you can't even distinguish the both universes, and not you're not interested in having a ton load of profit. You're interested in having quality of life, in having money to support yourself and your family, to buy a house or the car or whatever, but not to sell the company at all, because companies are like our babies.
Yeah, it made a real impression on me when you said that. It's natural and right. That's organic business as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the world and this whole startup culture is something to learn from that traditional value with that. Good evening to Salvation Air Force over in France at the moment. Victoria's joining us as well, la bonne nuit, and ahead of International Women's Day tomorrow, people who balance looking after others and holding down a job or jobs are amazing. They're mostly women. True, can't argue with that. And I suppose in the business, traditional Portuguese business you're talking about, that would be a kind of mom and pop business, like when we're talking about
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Portuguese mom and pop. Okay, and I also need to thank you. I quite like this idea that you were talking about with how to manage taxation is how I'll rephrase that. And thank you for your introduction to a fabulous accountant. He's not in the position of helping me minimize tax, because I think that's actually against the law in Portugal. He has helped. It is, isn't it? Actually,
tax planning.
Yes. Is that illegal?
Yes.
Bombshell number one tonight. Okay, so he is not doing it. We're nowhere near anything like that. The way that this fantastic contact of yours is helping me is to sort out the terrible mess that I've got myself in. I came into Portugal and I thought to myself, and I want to write, I think you might be able to talk me out of this, and certainly this could be a talking point for the ongoing Portugal Business Club. But I came to Portugal, want to be self-employed, went to finances, registered my activity. I definitely want to pay EVA, and I want to pay my tax, and I want to be all legit and above board. Pandemic came, got into a right old spin, learned how to use the green receipts. Things seemed to change. I got behind. I'm now on to my fifth accountant, and this fifth one you've recommended is very good. But in the last few weeks, I've been wanting to write a blog. Portugal is a horrible place to run a business. And it is if you... If you're a foreigner and you don't know what you're doing, it is hard. It's not impossible, and there are ways of making it work. And we've alluded to this mom and pop style of traditional business in Portugal. I think that's the best model. But really, your best intentions, which I had, need to be matched with a great amount of self-discipline, and also some really good professionals by your side to help you navigate the system, because it is quite an impenetrable system, even for Portuguese people, even for Portuguese business professionals. It's not an easy day out, is it, working with the tax authorities here?
No, and not only, I don't really like to say bad things just because I don't have the experience of other countries. Okay, so maybe it's even worse in other countries, and I don't know. But a lot of times in the public services, it will come down to the specific technician or person that's behind the counter talking to you. Yeah. And if you have someone, who's nice and is willing to give you the time to really look into your stuff, it goes miles and miles, because you'll have everything sorted out. But if you have the bad luck of finding someone that's in a bad day, which is like 99.9% of all of them, it can get really hard to get through and to do the simplest things. I mean, last week, I nearly went crazy because I created a company, and inexplicably, it took more than 4 weeks to get the company created. Okay. It's something about having one person in the commercial registry to have an understanding of who could reserve the designation of the company, if it was the solicitor, if it was a partnership, the shareholder, which is mental. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. Right. And for this tiny thing, which doesn't make any sense at all, I was for 4 weeks waiting and my clients waiting for a company to be created. I mean, it has never took so long. It's inexplicable. So what I did in the end was just let go of that process, created like a replica of the company, and then we'll change the name later. And it ended up in another conservatory, and it went fine.
Good.
So it's this arbitrage that sometimes you have to do, and in the tax office, it's exactly the same. If you by chance know someone, or if you have someone that's good technician, then you can talk to them. You can make sense out of things with them. If not,
that is part of what you do, though, right, Raquel? Because this is what we need to do. I'm not saying
exactly.
to people, don't start a business in Portugal, because Portugal is a great place to be. And if you want to support yourself and run your own business, you're going to have to bite that bullet and do it. What I am saying is that it's quite hard work, and it's not the most pleasant side of your business, but it's all part of it. It's all part of the trials and tribulations of running a small business, and help is at hand with this, and in the form of Raquel and other people.
Yeah, and if you know the rules, I mean, I don't think it's a complicated thing. There may be hurdles, but if you know your basics, and if you surround yourself, as you said, with good people, technicians who will help you in the accountancy part, in the legal part, social security stuff, all of that stuff, it's quite straightforward. And I mean, I have 2 companies. I haven't had one issue with them. But you don't you have to rely on professionals. You can't just like go on Facebook groups and just expect to have good advice.
You can't. That won't stand up with finances, will it? I heard it on Facebook.
No, not at all. Not at all. Because and the experience of one person is not the same as the other person, because there are 100 different circumstances that may change the case. So sometimes people go, that person went by themselves, it went great. Fine, that's great, but maybe it's not the same thing for you. And these days, time is money. So you will be saving money if you bet on the good professionals to help you, because that's what they're there for.
Yes.
And not do like the path your own way of trial and error, and then realizing that you wasted like a year and a half.
Yep, I think I'm about to pay nearly 1,000 in fines. So it doesn't pay to try and do it your own way and with good intentions. I've learned the hard way, and I intend to be helpful to other people who want to start businesses, so we can figure this out. And I think there are quite a few services and products yet to be developed, actually, to embrace the expat mindset and approach that I think will be really helpful. And I think, Raquel, you and I will be talking more about that and how we can provide that service for people. Because as one little nugget I heard is that you be careful. If an accountant doesn't charge you very much, there's probably a really good and bad reason for that. So pay well, because in the end it will save you money rather than cost you money. And even if you've taken the advice of an accountant, if they through some means or some outcome you do get fined because of something that was overlooked, or you had expectations that weren't actually appropriate, which is what happened to me. My expectations of accountants haven't been right, because you can't just bring the model from your own country and transplant it onto the model in this country. So within that gap, that kind of adjustment, mistakes were made by me, really, and it's me that's responsible for them. I can't say to the accountant, but you didn't say. Finances are still going to want their money. So after that bit of a moan there, I can say that help is on the way and things will get better. But brace yourself, pay the professionals, and build in the cost, build in those costs, and allow for mistakes, because the mistakes that you will inevitably make are costly and they need to be in the business plan in some way. And we've got this man who's trying to join us. What's going on here? We've got Vitor, and okay, we'll let you get safely to your destination.
I'm being abducted. Help!
Being abducted. He just said, "I'm being abducted. Help!" I do need to point out that this is a joke. Vitor has a very great sense of humor, which sometimes can be a little bit disturbing to people who aren't quite ready for it, or if he catches them unawares. Good evening also to Marta Branquinho. A good evening from Eiras, Lisboa. Congrats for this program. Thank you, Marta. And Portugal's son is also here and on his way to Portugal soon. Okay, so that's a nice little setup there about who Raquel is, how she can help you, and the business of being in business here. This also may be of interest to people starting up in business, right? What's going on here, Raquel?
I'm very proud of this. I'm very grateful for this because Brita Moreira, which is on Facebook as well, invited me to co-host this event. She's an expat as well, although she has Portuguese family. She had a lot of issues trying to get here in Portugal and trying to open up her business. She has a yoga hostel, and what she found through her path here is all of those hurdles, all of those difficulties to create a business here, and the visas as well. So all of those issues, and so together we came up with this concept of we're starting now, so we don't know if it's going to be a monthly meeting or bi-monthly or whatever, but a meeting for especially women entrepreneurs that are starting here in Portugal. So expats and national female entrepreneurs, and just to set the basis for them exactly to have a safe start. So for me, the foundation is essential. You have to really know if you're better off creating a company, if you're better off being a freelancer, if you're better off, with recibos verdes, like you said. You have to know the rules. You have to know social security that you're going to pay. You have to know that if you want to hire someone, how you can do that. You have to know if you're selling products, then you can't be a freelancer. So all of those things we think is our duty to enlighten and to educate and to train other people that are starting, and so they can have a proper base for their business here in Portugal. And so what we're going to start is exactly with this meetup, where we intend to explain. I'll be talking about how you can create a company, what are the things that you have to look out for, the tax aspect of it, the social security aspect of it, the various types of companies, all of the stages and the steps they have to go through. Brita has a background in social media, marketing, and all of that. So she will help people create a website and do the social media marketing campaigns and all of that stuff, which is also something that I struggled with in the beginning. So it would have been very useful for me to have this backup as well, if at the time I could have gotten there. So it's a limited event. It's a free event, so there's no cost. You can all go. It's a limited space event, so please book your spot there for you to go. It's in Lisbon. It starts at 8 o'clock. It goes to 9-something p.m., 9:30. And it's on the 29th of March. It's in a very cool place, and a cool co-work place. It's on the outside co-work cafe. So you're all invited. Please show up. Please let other people know that maybe in this position of wanting to start a business here in Portugal. And this may be the start of many others that may come.
Brilliant. What a great invitation. A free event, an hour and a half of power-packed information.
Yeah.
For current and prospective business owners in Portugal, at a nice co-work establishment in Lisbon. It's not women only. It's aimed at women, but not women only.
Exactly. No, we welcome everyone for sure. I mean, this is, and we've talked about this before, Carl. Now I can help whoever I want to. So I especially focus on women and on other communities that traditionally do not have as much help as the mainstream people or whatever. So this is focused on women because traditionally they are the ones that are the underdogs in the entrepreneurship. They have less help, they have less time, and all of that stuff that we already know. So this is focused but everybody. In fact, I already have people coming over, men coming over, so friends. It's going to be useful for everybody. So please
Brilliant.
do join.
We will put that back on the screen. We won't need to bring our other guest on, and Vitor will be joining us soon. But I'm going to only let him on the screen when I'm sure he hasn't been abducted and he's parked up safely somewhere to do so. Let's welcome our next guest on, and that'll be Steven Whyte. Good evening to you, Steven. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you loud and clear, and I'm sorry to keep you waiting, but I suspect you might have found some of that useful. Have you just started up a business here in Portugal?
Yes. So I started up a business about actually a year ago now. It was definitely a difficult process, especially someone that doesn't speak the language and did not know anyone in Portugal. It was very difficult to navigate at first. But once I started building my community and understanding who was around me, the Portuguese people were very helpful in regards to welcome me into their country as well. So it kind of made a little bit of an easier process from there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you stayed the course. And there's a certain resonance here. It wasn't easy, but it is worth it, I suspect. And more so as time passes. Tell us about your business, homeminerspropertyinvestment.com. Sounds very exciting, and I think it will whet the appetites of a few people wanting to come to Portugal and invest in property, because it's kind of hot right now.
It is hot. I find a lot of people are getting turned away with the fact that how do I put this nicely? They're trying to get rid of the golden visa.
That was nice.
But it's not the only way of investing into Portugal.
You're right.
There's multiple options that you have, and the biggest thing that I'm trying to teach is, I guess, more financial literacy towards this.
Yeah.
Okay. I find that there's a large number of, I would say, people my age in Portugal that don't really understand A, how property works, and B, how they can benefit from it.
Wow. Okay, so a lot to talk about then in that case. Raquel, meet Steven. Steven, meet Raquel. Raquel, do jump in at any time if you've got a question to ask of Steven. And I'm interested in that. What would we call that? Actually, before we go there, and what I was going to say was the knowledge gap in people fancying the idea but not really knowing how to do it. Let's just rewind very quickly back to this housing crisis thing and the politicians' response to it and getting rid of the golden visa, etc. I don't think it is very helpful. And we've talked a lot about this on the morning show. It's not especially helpful, the way it's being approached. And I think you're absolutely right that there are other ways that people need to know about, because it's very much a niche, isn't it, the golden visa? And would you agree that people need not be put off? In fact, they could be encouraged to consider Portugal, certainly not have their confidence knocked, and to think about coming to Portugal and doubling down on investment, property investment here?
I do think that my mentor taught me this, was that when people are starting to run away from a situation, you should be running towards it. Because we live in a world of supply and demand. So when people start running away from a situation, they're going to start creating a demand for that one thing that people are looking for.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So you really another thing that he used to tell me is that you have to be a shark that swims with the fish. At the end of the day, the shark is a fish as well too, but they can also eat up everyone in that area if they need to.
Okay.
So you need to be aggressive, and you really need to understand your market. A lot of people seem to think that you need loads of money to get involved in property. A lot of people think that you have to do it alone. And especially in Portugal, which is why I actually started coming over here, I kind of just started investing by an accident in the area. I had someone reach out to me about finding them an investment in Portugal. And I started to see all the distressed properties, and I started to see, people were selling their properties below market value, and I couldn't figure out, what's going on. This is a really nice destination. You have everything and everyone that you could ever need to get involved in property. What is the issue?
Wow.
And this is where I pinpointed it down to the lack of education in regards to it.
Okay. All right. Let's bring Vitor on now, because I think he's in a fit state to do so. Is that right?
Hello. Yes.
Hello,
yes.
Vitor.
Since I'm being abducted, I don't have to pay attention to the road, so I'm good.
Sounds terrible, by the way. So we'll just have you continuing to mime. Thank you, Vitor, for bringing Steven to us this evening. And I'd love to just rewind a little bit, Stephen, there. How you discovered Portugal. You say by accident, possibly?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Canada, if you can't tell by my accent. I was sourcing properties for investors, or what we call over there wholesaling properties for investors. So what I would do is go out and find these properties that investors are looking for. So I would figure out their criteria, figure out what, where their locations that they're looking at, and what exactly the investment that they're looking to purchase is. And what I would do is that I'd go to every house in the neighborhood, I'd knock on the doors, I'd send out flyers, I do Facebook marketing. I pretty much did all the footwork in regards to finding them their investment. So in exchange for finding them their investment, I would charge a fee of the equivalent to 3,000 euros.
Okay, and this led you to choose or to research Portugal as well.
Yeah, so I had a investor that was Portuguese from Canada asked me to help them find something in the UK because I was so good at it, in Portugal, to help them find something there. So I said, okay, sure. They paid for all my flights. They paid for the stay. And this is how I stumbled upon it. I seen how much value is to be brought to this country, and I see how beautiful the people are, and I see even the food. I didn't realize how much chemical is in the food in North America until I came to Portugal. Everything is so fresh.
Yes. Oh, how wonderful that you chance upon it in that way. And actually, I think maybe the other three of us here are thinking, how can we do that job as well? That sounds good, doesn't it, Raquel? Being flown to other countries to research property. Yes, we're in. Can we do this too, Stephen?
Anyone can do this. And this is what I try to explain to as many people as I can. So even for myself as an investor, I tell people, if you know someone that is selling or is looking to invest capital, or even just wants to get involved in property, send them my way. And if we can close a deal with them together, you get a sourcing fee of 300 euros. So imagine if you had 700-800 people. That works out to a lot of money.
It does, doesn't it? We're liking the cut of your jib, as we say in the UK tonight. Raquel, before I ask my next question, do you have anything you want to ask? It's like fun tonight, isn't it?
I don't know if you can see, but I have like a million ideas here popping up in my head.
I thought you might. I think this is a great meeting of minds tonight. And when Vitor can, is your microphone any better now, Vitor? Let's try you again. Are you there?
It might be because driving and it's raining a little bit, so that might be the noise. Is it too noisy there?
It is a bit noisy. It sounds really atmospheric, but we just it's lovely to see your smiley face. So we'll stay with that. That's okay. Okay, we'll come back to you in a little while and see if that's improved. Okay. The other thing you said, which I think will have piqued my interest, Raquel's, and others listening tonight, including Simon. Hi, everyone. And Carolina as well is here tonight. Hello, Carolina. You can get into this with little or no money, you said, into the property investment business?
Yeah. So I started out, like I said, I would essentially bird dog find properties for investors. So I started going to all the local meetings. I started to go to Facebook groups, online seminars, and I started to understand what the biggest issue was, and it was investors finding their next project. Mm-hmm. So this is, again, something that I was talking about before of supply and demand.
Yeah.
If you run towards a thing that people are running away from or having an issue finding,
yes,
it's almost inevitable that you will be able to make money out of it.
Wow. Okay. Did you call it bird dogging? Is that what
bird dog. In North America, we shoot ducks, and then the dog goes and gets the duck and brings it back. And
I thought so. I just wanted to clarify that. I thought that's what it might be. And it's a specialist job, isn't it? You know, the dog has a sense of where the bird is in a way that the person with the gun would have no clue, would they? And they want to be getting on with doing the shooting while the dog collects the bird.
Exactly.
Very good. It's outsourcing, isn't it? I suppose.
Does it work better now?
I think you might be better now, Vitor. Good evening to you. How are you?
Hello, doing great. Thank you very much. How are you guys?
We're very well. We're having a very fascinating conversation here, and we're all going to be rich by the sound of it. Vitor, you've been have you been training? Have you been expanding your mind again?
Absolutely, every time. And Steven is the kind of guy that every time I talk to him on the phone, it's like I just find a new world of opportunities opening up and exploring. And I will say this, I don't quite recall because it was a long time since we talked about this, but I kind of feel like Steven has probably invested more in his education than I probably earned so far with our business.
Okay. Would you care to comment on that, Steven?
Yeah. I mean, some people will get embarrassed about saying this, but I'd say I've spent close to 30 or 40 grand on my education towards property investment.
Right.
I find the days of maybe not all school education, but most things that you learn in school is outdated.
Yeah.
And we're starting to move back into the time period of almost like the blacksmith and his helper.
Yeah.
No one, there's no book on how to become a blacksmith. You learn to do it. You do it by getting your feet wet. You do it by getting all the work done with the blacksmith.
Apprenticing by the side of the skilled person, right? And this occurred to me some time ago, that when I realized how much people were spending on their educations, this was in the UK, and it wasn't that much compared to North America, where people spend a fortune, don't they, on their degree education. I thought to myself, if you had something like, what would it be, for example, even £10,000 a year that was going into a degree education, which I think is around that sort of price in the UK. If you had 6 of those people who were prepared to spend £60,000, they could get together quite a good faculty if they did it themselves, couldn't they? Compared to going off to university and blocking up all their time for a whole year in a distant town where they were being self-taught and being, on group sessions and stuff. It seems like if you do organize it for yourself in the way that you're doing, you could get a lot of value. I mean, all the best thinkers in the world might turn up for 10,000 for a weekend masterclass with a bunch of individuals who pooled their money, right?
Yeah, I'd say, and even just with the tuition to put forward towards college, you can get 2 or 3 rental properties that are cash flowing for you, and you don't have to work again.
Yes, that's the way to do it. So I guess the next question is, how does somebody become your apprentice? Is that opportunity available yet?
That opportunity is available, but
Vitor's already there, is he? He's blocking up next to you already.
I want to be his next case study. And by the way, what you meant by cash flowing, it means you get a profit every month.
We're liking his little bits of input here on the side. Well, this is quite amazing. This is revolutionary stuff, Steven. And as sorry, Raquel, I don't want to dominate here. If you've got anything you want to ask, please jump in and do so.
No, that's okay. My mind's racing as well.
Yeah, okay. Now, coming in afresh, and as a very fresh thinker yourself, you must have noticed 1 or 2 things about the Portuguese real estate market as it stands. It's an awkward one, isn't it? How things happen here is a subject of not very private criticism in how the system works. What have you noticed about it with your different way of seeing things?
I kind of look at the Portuguese real estate market like a 90s movie or an 80s movie.
Which one? Breakfast Club.
I don't even want to comment on that because I don't want.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay, carry on.
But I think Portugal is a place where it's almost like, I know a guy. If you want something taken care of, I know a guy. They'll take care of your problems. They'll really take care of where you need to be. You have to really follow someone and, do something in a group.
Okay.
So this is something I'm trying to stress to Portuguese people. Because, back in the day, in these movies that used to happen in the 80s and 90s, it was groups of kids, groups of friends, close family members that would be together. And what we need to do is start working together, because social media has segregated us to individuals.
Yes.
And we've forgotten the path of how we used to be before. We used to be people that, stayed at home until you were financially free. Now people can't wait to get out of their house at 16, 17. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So I do, absolutely.
Even, for example, myself, when I found out what I needed to do in Portugal, I sold everything in Canada, and I came over to the UK to come stay with my mom, and I slept on my mom's couch for about a year until I sorted that out, and I made sure that I found out what I needed to do, and I had everything cash flowing for what I needed to accomplish. I took the steps back. I worked in pubs. I worked in places where I knew that if I knew investors were going to be in certain areas, I would go and work at that place and connect with them. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm trying to change
become
the
a caddy.
mindset.
Become a caddy at a golf club. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Amazing. Now that's the other thing I'm noticing about you, because in the old, and this is what Vitor and I have been talking on here for a few weeks now, and we're keen to be part of the redefinition of business, because old business isn't really working that well, is it? In a lot of ways that we probably don't need to get into. But what's really exciting about the new business paradigms is what you've just said about teamwork, because the old-fashioned business model would be, well, Steven can't be that great a businessman because here he is spilling his guts, telling everybody how to do it. He's giving away his IP and his competitive edge here. What you're talking about, and how I see things, is you're talking about a bigger pie, aren't you? Rather than arguing over the slices of an ever-decreasing pie, which is the old-fashioned way, I think.
If I may add, like,
he's coming in.
Oh, sorry, but no, but if I may add, like, it would be very easy for me, like, as a real estate agent, right, to be like, hey, this Steven guy, he's helping people invest here in Portugal. I should be doing that, so I'll just pretend he doesn't exist. But here I am. I brought him over. I talked to you to get him on the show because he can add value to people. He gives value to me just by talking to him, just by listening to him. And I believe that people who work towards cooperation are those who can really grow. And you see that on real estate. The agents that are more, no, this is my business. No, we don't share this property. No, this deal is only for us. No, we don't work with other agents. Those are always struggling. Those who give and share, those have almost infinite potential of growth.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said. What were you going to say, Steven?
10% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly right. And with the blacksmith had to be in a stable in a village. And that was a very different situation to how now with social media and the internet, you can be all over the place, can't you? So that pie can actually literally be much bigger, and you can be getting 10%, 5%, even 2% of something of many transactions going on around the world. That is a tide that has risen to help all the boats float in the harbor, right?
Exactly. Even with joint ventures that we are pulling off in Portugal. So let's say, for example, you know someone that has 200,000 euros to invest for whatever reason. They just have 200,000 sitting around. Let's say we take on a project. My mentor taught me this method called the Seth model. So let's say you have that investor. They come and invest with me. Instead of me giving you a fee for working or finding this investor for me, I can cut you in 10% of my profit because you helped me get towards that scenario. Mm-hmm. So then when that person brings me across, you get 10% of that 10%, and we keep it rolling. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So this is where I'm trying to even explain to people about issues that's going on in the Portuguese market, and no one is doing anything about it. Look at property management. You come from the UK, you understand that property management is a very apparent thing, and it's, very normal. Portugal, I'm yet to find anyone that is, there's property management companies, but they're not very due diligent. They're not very, I guess, not willing to work with the homeowner in a sense.
Right, yes.
And I find it strange, but it's just one of those things where even now, you can do options where you rent property and then sublet it out. I know for a fact that there's certain areas in Portugal where there's T7s, T8s, so 8-bedroom houses, 7-bedroom houses, where you can rent these houses. Let's say the rent is only $1,500 a month, but you can charge $450 to $500 per room.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all you have to do is furnish the property.
Yeah.
Which
you could work with a collaborator to do that, couldn't you? Really, if you just by finding that and having the adventurousness to market that, you could bring in all sorts of collaborators on that project, couldn't you? Because it sounds like quite an attractive one already.
Exactly. You're getting in for even less of a cost than what it would be to purchase a property, and you have a cash flowing asset.
Amazing. Loving having a chat with you tonight. Thank you, Vitor, for bringing Steven our way. I have seen you. Incidentally, I have seen you, Steven. I think I did reach out to you independently because I saw you on Facebook. You are a busy man, and you do know where I think to put yourself for best effect. And did you say the set? Is it really called the Ceph model?
Yeah, it's called the Ceph model. So it's essentially the person that refers gets 10% of something. I can explain that on a whole different webinar if we want, and I can break it down over a presentation as well.
Well, let's do that. But I mean, Ceph means something really horrible here. Doesn't it? Anyway, let's move on. We don't need to. They've got their own problems. I mean, they could do with someone like you helping them, I think. And let's see what they come up with on the 1st of April. I have a promoter personality, says Suze. Can't help it. I was a liaison between my film union and the American productions in Vancouver. Love real estate. I'm sticking with this show. Gonna find my way in. Yes, Suze, inspired tonight. What about this, Stephen? The universe is actually in cooperation. The old paradigm of survival of the fittest has been proven incorrect. Thriving is in nature cooperating. Same with people, in my opinion. I think you're getting some nodding heads here. And this education you've invested in, Stephen, the 30, 40,000, it hasn't all just been about real estate. I imagine some of that is about working on yourself as well, if I understand you correctly.
100%. Like I said, the programs are more so teaching you how to develop as a person as well too. Developing your team, developing who you're working with, and again understanding that sometimes you have to make that 2 extra steps back to make that big leap forward. So yes, you're spending 10, 20 grand on education towards property investment, but when you do one property investment deal where you buy, fix, and sell a property, the minimum you'll probably walk out of there is 40 or 50 grand. If you know how to structure right and you had a good teacher.
Which you did, by the sound of it. This mentor you refer to, can you say more?
Yeah, he's actually passed away now. He passed away about 5 years ago. His name is Stefan Arnio. I'll write it in the chat here.
Thank you. I mean, I asked you with some sort of hesitation there because I'm thinking, you don't ask rude questions like that. But you're just very happy. And I love this transparency about you. You've answered every question openly, freely, and fully. Thank you very much. So Stefan Arnio is the person, double A in Arnio, right?
Yes, double A.
All right. So I'm putting that across into the chat. And so you've given us a few important lessons from Stefan. What else came that way?
One thing that I learned from that is that, let's say, for example, I want to get involved in property. Okay. Everyone wants to make money, but nobody wants to do the work. Okay. So you go to the property event, you've already put yourself in that 10 percentile of people that are going to invest in property.
Yeah.
Then let's say you go to an event and you're inspired and you really want to invest in property. Out of that 10%, another 10% will only actually do anything about it. They'll actually take action. Most people will just talk about it.
Yep.
Property isn't as hard as what people make it seem. It's literally more sticking to your word and being truthful with who you're working around, and also understanding that not every property that you look at is going to be a deal.
Well, okay. These are great lessons, aren't they? And also transferable. I imagine that principle works in many businesses, not just in real estate.
Exactly.
The good accountant, these good professionals are the ones who will do the work and show up. And even if they've got nothing to tell you, they'll tell you that they've got nothing to tell you, right? So you're in the loop.
Yeah, well, it's all about building your team structure. So, for example, I deal with Vitor because I know that he's willing to work and listen to what I have to say. Yeah. One of the biggest issues that I've had with real estate agents in Portugal is no one listens. So, for example, I will say I'm looking for a property investment in this location at this price. Then they'll send me everything that has nothing to do with what I'm looking for.
Because that's what they want to sell you, right? They just want to sell you what they want to sell you, right?
Exactly. And that's an issue. And this is kind of getting back to what Vitor was saying about the agencies, is that from a North American perspective, it kind of looks like everyone treats the agencies like a gang. It's like, oh, that's Remax, screw them. Oh, that's this company, screw them. I don't want to work with them. They take this much profit and that much profit. Okay, but is that your issue? And why are you not, or even not even understanding who is in their own market?
Yeah.
Most real estate agents don't know who they're working beside or who is, around them. One of the biggest things that you have to realize with life in general is to keep your enemies close, or keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. You need to understand who is in your area and who you're working with, because at the end of the day, it's a rat race.
Yeah. My goodness, Vitor, I'm sure you have questions. Raquel, you may or may not have questions, but if you do, please. I mean, you have our attention, clearly.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say, I mean, this is all making me think, of course, but it's funny because I do a lot of business brokerage, so I also act sometimes as a buyer's agent, of course, when people want to look into real estate, of course. And I think that's the essential part right there, is that the one you're working for is your client. So you're not working for a specific agency that wants to sell one of the properties in their own portfolio. So you're just thinking about the client's best interest. And I think that's the greatest part. But in business brokerage, it has everything to do with partnerships. Because, I mean, I have investors that come up to me and say, okay, now I have 500,000, 1 million, 2 million, whatever, 100,000 euros. And I want to invest in a bakery shop, or I want to invest in a restaurant, or I don't know where I want to invest. Please help me. And if I just limit myself to the things that I know, it's just such a limited scope. I'm never going to find something. Whereas if we work as a network, and I have been developing partnerships in this business, I have partnerships with a lot of different, not only things that I can't provide, so I find someone who can, but also, for instance, with real estate, I have partnered with agencies in the sense that if I have some investor that wants to buy something, I'm going to reach out to a lot of them. And then the network is huge. It multiplies. And if I gain, and if I make someone else gain, and everybody gains, I'm not just going to have something right now. In the future, that person is going to want to work with me again. And so, for me, it's not just karma, which again I believe, but because I believe in this meetup that we're doing, and we're providing a lot of content, we're providing a lot of knowledge. But I think that all of that comes back to you, or either in networking that you end up doing, either in talking to other people, either sometimes just being in the mind of someone, if I have, if I know that any of you does work in a specific area, when I need that area, I'm going to reach out to you. And if everybody wins, it's a win-win situation. It's going to have legs to walk. So it's going to expand. So for sure, that's my mantra.
Thank you, Raquel. Vitor, go on.
Thank you very much. I want to stress something here, which is so many times people focus so much on money, but what many don't realize is that opportunity is a lot more valuable than whatever income you can make now. And I can tell you an example. Very recently, I've met a guy. As soon as I started talking with him, I knew we had to work more in the future, and we've since met him. So his main business is like doing electricity contracts, right? So we talk to them, understand how it works, and he does electric contracts both for companies, factories, and also for the end user. And they get a small cut of that yearly, every month. They get the recurring income, which is an interesting business model. But here's the thing, right? Even though he has, I think, at least several businesses, he also buys land and all of these things. he actually got a part-time job for about 2 years at Radio Popular, which, for those who don't know, is like a really big national chain of electronic stores, kind of like Orton. He got a part-time job there for 2 years just so he could get their electricity contract. But to get you an idea, one factory provides so much more income for him than all of the Radio Popular stores in the whole country, because they consume so much more energy. But he still went there for 2 years just so he could have a connection with Radio Popular, help them as well, because if their contracts weren't beneficial, I'm sure they would never have agreed to sign a contract, right? And so I really do believe that the more you help people, the more it's like people will help you. If you do it only to get helped, I don't think that's going to work, So I also believe in karma, not in like this magical way that there's some entity taking score of you do good, you get good, you do bad, you get bad. But there is just something where if you genuinely have good intentions, if you genuinely help people, if you connect people, if you share information, then one way or another, your life will get better too. If you do it with self-serving purposes, then people will feel that as well, and you will not get any benefit.
Thank you, Vitor. And I hope this program, this platform is a demonstration of that on an ongoing basis. We're here every Tuesday evening at 9 o'clock. Let's be like that. And perhaps there isn't a great big being in the sky with a great big spreadsheet writing stuff down in the cloud, literally. So last words then.
Just imagine that.
The spreadsheet. Hold on. Raquel said something good and nice tonight. She gets a little positive there. Let's go to our guest then.
Maybe Steven can help him when he gets there.
Probably. Right. So last words from both of our guests. We have an I'm in from Marta for the event, I think there, Raquel, which is great. And there was a question earlier on. Sorry, Laurie, I overlooked this earlier. So if you could take this into your closing comments as well, both you, Raquel and Steven. Benoit says, Larry, thank you for this show. Very interesting. How do you go about finding a good accountant? Any tips? So your closing comments, please, Raquel.
Well, ask me. That's always a good start. Then ask me. I have someone.
Yeah, give me your email address in the private chat, and I'll make sure it goes onto the screen. Anything else you want to say? And we hope you'll come back at some point on the Portugal Business Club. Maybe this needs to be a panel every week.
Well, whenever you invite me, I'll be here ready with my fan cup. So I'm completely on board, and thank you so much for this opportunity, Carl. Thank you, Steven and Victor. I love to be here with you. Your minds are just such a great thing to experience. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Raquel. Over to you then, Steven. Thank you. I mean, it feels like we do need a part 2 of that webinar based on the CEF principle. Steven, thank you so much for being here. What are your closing thoughts tonight?
My closing thoughts today is I just want people, especially Portuguese people, to understand that their country is beautiful and there's so much value within their own country and within their own people, and you should be investing in your own people. I see too many opportunities of where Portuguese people go outside of the country to either find work or to grow for themselves, but they need to also understand that there's rich Portuguese people, there's poor Portuguese people, and it's the same as anywhere else in the world. So understanding the value of what you have here compared to, where I'm from in Vancouver, it gets cold, or even other regions where you don't have so much opportunity. There's so much land, there's so much property, and there's so many opportunities for you to make money in this country, but it's about how you find it. So amazing, go out and find it, or reach out to me and I can teach you how to do it.
Oh, what a lovely invitation and a wonderful note to end on. We'll be back next Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and we're hoping to see Raquel and Steven sometime soon again in the future. Thank you, Vitor, as well, for your part in making this brilliant tonight as well. So we'll leave it there, and we'll see you again maybe in the morning, or ask anything about Portugal on the morning show. Thank you so much, Raquel. Thank you, Vitor. Thank you, Steven. Bye for now.
Yeah.